Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video after yesterday's very late night TWAB that did not have a ton of stuff in it. One thing it did not have in it was, in the ongoing issues list, the fact that Gambit has been kind of broken by the latest hotfix. When they were supposed to change it so there were no longer power level advantages in Gambit, so everyone would be kind of on an equal playing field for invasion. However, when they implemented that in the hotfix, they left a bunch of PvE values in place, so you can do things like one-shot an invader with a single Paracausal, whatever it's called, Hawkmoon shot, and you can one-shot body people with Ariana's Vow. So, once again, it is all over the place. Also, in this hotfix, they made tracking for rockets in against other Guardians a lot less, and they specifically cited Gambit as the reason for this. But this also applies to PvP, so if you are a fan of tracking rockets in PvP as your heavy, those are now a lot worse, pretty much because of Gambit. Okay, I think we need to have like a conversation about Gambit because I don't think it's working, and I don't really know how much continued investment should be put into Gambit going forward at this point. This was supposed to be like the big Gambit revamp season. They talked in previous talks before Witch Queen about how Evie's here to be loud. Evie, you gonna be loud? Of course you are. They talked about how this was going to be the season for just focusing on Gambit, and then they were going to do focusing on like Iron Banner and stuff later. And the focus on Gambit, quote unquote, came with a lot of reworks and things that they did to kind of fix some of the problems with it, which included things like too many invasions, really fast primeval burning. And then they launched all these things, and then a lot of people were saying Gambit's actually worse now. I don't think that's true. I don't think this is worse than what it was last season. I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's worse. I will say I like the changes to the Primeval because it was just ridiculously stupid how fast you could burn the Primeval last season, especially with the coordinated team. I think the addition of Freelance is good, although games are still certainly stomps, usually one way or the other anyway. In terms of invasion, there is less invasion because they just kind of changed how many times you can invade. And so there's less back-to-back invasions and things like that, and you can't store up invasions if you miss your window on the first one. So that's good. The problem is that now they made heavy ammo a lot easier to get. It's heavy ammo is essentially guaranteed after every part of the map you clear, so an invader can just grab a bunch of Gjallarhorn rockets and then jump in and kill the whole team and leave, pretty much without any real problem. Now they're changing tracking on rockets to combat that, and it's like this whole thing. So people ask like when the good time of Gambit was, and I don't know if there like really was a best time of Gambit. Like certain elements of Gambit Prime, kind of in its prime, were good. Some aspects of Gambit Prime were not good, but that might be the closest. I liked kind of how at least the Primeval felt and how rounds felt. Maybe closer to when Gambit launched initially. I agree that 3 rounds for Gambit felt too long, and I think the switch to 1 round was a good idea. But at this point, I just don't see a future for Gambit. And if this is kind of the end result of a quote-unquote focus on Gambit for a full season, I just don't know what can really be done to ultimately save the mode. Obviously, we need base things like, bring back the 2 maps that got deleted or build new maps for Gambit, but that wouldn't fix kind of the rules problems with Gambit, as there seems to always be some sort of... There are really 2 sets of problems. There's always some sort of problem with Invasion. Invasion has never felt like it's been in a good place. I would say never. Never has. We've lived through various eras of just ridiculous Gambit invasions for... Queenbreaker's bow to Bow, to Sleeper Simulant, to Truth, now to Gjallarhorn, and with a lot of those weapons actually got nerfs because of how well they were performing in Gambit specifically, and now we're seeing it again with all tracking rockets because of Gambit. So there's really just never been a good space, I would say, for Gambit invasion. It has pretty much always been the case that entire games are decided by a single good invasion, usually. And even with the new changes to the Primeval, it is really, really hard to come from behind and win. It is possible. I'd say it is more possible than it was last season, given the kind of health gating and things, but it's still not great. I would also say that Gambit is pretty much never balanced for PvE. This season, for instance, I don't think Gambit has been balanced at all for Void 3.0. The chain explosions of Void 3.0 just means entire sides can be cleared by a team just almost instantly. And then in any given season, pretty much like you can... This was worse before the Primeval was invincibility gated. But like, there's always some like big boss burning meta out there in terms of like what does the most damage, and the Primeval itself is pretty much never balanced for that. That's why I think at least the change to kind of force people to go out into the map and kill the envoys is preventing like these kind of instant burn strategies, but it's still not great. And it's just, I don't know how many people are working on Gambit, but it is certainly not as many compared to the base game, and I don't know what can be done at this point. Every suggestion that you come up with, like, okay, invaders can just no longer use heavy ammo or something, like, would that fix Gambit? Like, would it really? I'm not saying they should just like shut Gambit off entirely, but I do not know if there is a path forward for this mode. I am tempted to say that maybe they should just kind of kill the maybe competitive aspect of it to a certain extent, or at least kill the PvP element to it of invasion, and turn it into some sort of like boss rush horde mode PvE type thing, where maybe it is competitive, maybe there's still another team you're competing against, but just the current iteration of it does not work. But again, I don't know if it'd be worth it to go kind of back to the drawing board and try and kind of revamp Gambit from the ground up as some sort of mainly PvE thing. I just don't know if it's worth their time. I think it was a valiant effort to create something new and different, and, you know, not just something like, oh, we're going to throw a Battle Royale mode in Destiny or something. Like, they were trying to be creative with this, but I think, like, Halo's, what are they called, firefights or whatever, like, those big PvPvE things were kind of a lot more interesting and fun than what we're seeing here with Gambit. I really like the Drifter as a character. I hope they don't get rid of the Drifter. I would just like to see him maybe involved elsewhere in the story besides just Gambit. Gambit was like introduced as kind of prep for Shadowkeep moat dunking, I guess, and now I think we are well past kind of the initial mysteries of Gambit, of like, what's the weird plant thing and the Drifters thing, and, you know, what are these moats of darkness, and like we are past the kind of lore implications of Gambit at this point. And then I think we have to keep in mind the last time we had a Gambit-focused season, it was Season of the Drifter, which I would say is inarguably probably one of the worst seasons they've ever done that is not like just attached to an expansion like Undying or something. I do not think anyone has super, super fond memories of Season of the Drifter, even if maybe some elements of Prime were good. But I just don't think Gambit has a real future at this point. It's like, I've seen enough, as Shax would say. Any change they can make, I don't think is going to fully heal the mode. I do think this new version has offered at least some improvements over last season and kind of stabilized things, at least from the Primeval perspective. I think there are still problems with invaders. I think there are still problems with balance on the PvE side of things, but, you know, at least we're not seeing Primevals deleted in, 2 seconds anymore, which... That's not an exaggeration. You could literally see Primevals deleted in essentially 2 seconds last time around. So at least that's been fixed, but I just don't see a way forward here. It's been an experiment that we've had for a couple years now, and while it can continue to exist in the game, like, I don't know if a pinnacle should be tied to it anymore, kind of like forcing you to engage with it. I don't think it is a pillar of the game like PvE, like Crucible. Whatever possible resources they're sinking into Gambit, I think all of that should be devoted to the Crucible team instead. We know they are building up the Crucible team again after peeling a bunch of those people off to work on whatever new PvP thing Bungie's making. I think it is more of a priority to build up PvP, which is much more engaged with at this point than Gambit. I know there are like diehard dedicated Gambit players, but they seem to be playing kind of regardless. I think they need to fix like very overtly broken thing like Ariana's Vow one-shotting people. But besides that, like I would not balance things around Gambit. I would not neuter all tracking rockets in all PvP modes because Gambit invaders are annoying. Like if you're not going to balance like half the things around Gambit, don't balance the other half things around Gambit. Like it's not worth it. And I think we've lost a good amount of stuff to Gambit already in certain ways. I forgot Queensbreaker's bow actually existed at all. Like I literally have not heard anyone use that for any reason since it was the Gambit invasion weapon. I don't know. We'll see what happens from here, but I expect there to be kind of a long silence about Gambit going forward here other than bug fixes. This was supposed to be their big Gambit fix, and while I do think it has improved it in a few ways mildly, it is obviously not some like big transformation of Gambit, and I know a lot of people don't think it's an improvement and they think it's worse. Well, I might disagree with that. I can see kind of both sides. I do think we're going to see more PvP focus over the course of the year, but I am not expecting more Gambit maps. I am not expecting big changes to Gambit kind of over the next year, and as such, I don't know how much really they're going to put into it going forward at all here, honestly. I don't know what more they can really do because all the fixes that are proposed don't really even seem like they would kind of fully fix it and probably just cause new problems as we've seen with some of the current changes they've already made. So anyway, that's my Gambit thoughts. I know it's kind of a downer, but Gambit has been just all over the place for so long now. And then just yesterday, watching people one-shot invaders with Hawkmoon, Ariana's Vow, I was just like, I had to laugh because it's like, come on. And then seeing things balanced around Gambit still, it doesn't feel great. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and let me know if you agree or disagree. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care.